The Clare 2021 season preview brought to you by orgaretro.com. To get the Clare jersey or any other jersey, go to orgaretro.com and put in the promo code OurGame. Michael Verney, are you looking forward to watching Clare hurl this season? Obviously, in some respects, considering that not everyone expected a huge amount of them last year, they didn't actually do all that badly, got to an All-Ireland quarter-final, losing to Waterford, put up a decent showing against Limerick, as good as most teams put up. So are you feeling good about them heading into 2021?
Yeah, I'd say they probably exceeded expectations, Shane, realistically. No one was like, I was expecting Limerick to beat them by what they did in the Munster quarter final, but I was expecting Limerick to have them at arm's length probably the whole way through. So I think that they performed quite well. There was that big Davy derby in Portlaoise where they were comfortable victors, really, and they put it up to Waterford for long stages. Were probably caught against the run of play. They probably conceded a goal or two as well. So the question I'd have is, like, Tony Kelly delivered some of the great performances in last year's championship. If he's in any way off or has picked up a knock, like similar to the Waterford game last year, what sort of shape are they going to be in without him? There's a couple of other bodies as well. Shane O'Morey's opted out for the year. Potentially, maybe mightn't hurt for Clare again. Uh, so we don't know. It doesn't look like Peter Duggan's going to be playing. It looks like John Conlon is going to be back now from the cruciate. But the big question is, if Tony Kelly doesn't deliver those tour de force performances they did last year, where are Clare going to be? Because he kept them in a lot of games, and he just, when a player is at that level where it just raises everybody else. Everybody gets goals from, a 6 to a 7 just because, listen, just get the ball to this guy, or he just breeds confidence into other lads around him. So that would be my worry. Like, is he going to be able to maintain those sort of levels? If he doesn't, Clare could have a difficult season. If he gets up to those heights again, they'll go as far as they probably should go.
Yeah. If you jump back to last season, Limerick didn't go with a severe man-marking job of him, and Tony Kelly ended up scoring 17 points. Now, Limerick are that sort of team. They don't have to worry about one player because they just feel the sum of the parts and all that kind of stuff. So, but if teams manage to lock him down, and it's probably unfair to look at the Waterford game and the job that Caleb Lyons did, because Tony Kelly hurt his ankle beforehand. He wasn't right, and he still actually did pretty good. The performance against Wexford was unbelievable. But as we said at the time, a brilliant player that Matt O'Hanlon is, this probably wasn't the role best suited to him. So in some ways, teams played into Tony Kelly's hands a little bit, and he's going to destroy you. Like, he scored 153 last season, 17 of those points against Limerick. But is that going to happen again this season? And if he's tied down, can the likes of Aaron Shanahan, can he continue the form that he showed down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh last year in the quarter-final? Can Cathal Malone have his biggest season? And can a couple of more step up? Like, do they have, like, John Conlon, it's a big ask for him to come back and hit the ground running and pick up his 2018 form. So I can't help but think that the negative vibes are going to begin to spread in Clare again, because I can't see them having a massive season.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise in the background with the centre of excellence in Cara Lohan, and there just seems to be a lot of negative talk in Clare. We know kind of when there was probably a good bit of negativity in Cork that maybe things weren't going so well as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can turn it around. I thought Brian Lohan did as well as he could have last year. To be honest with you, in his first year, he got probably as much out of them as he could have had, considering he was missing, as you say, he was missing Duggan, he was missing Conlon. Colm Galvin's an interesting one. He obviously sidestepped last year, played intercounty last year for his long-term future. I think it's a groin or a knee injury. I can't fully remember, but like, you'd be hoping that he's getting back towards fitness, because he's another massive player as well. Like, he's a seventh defender, he's a seventh attacker at times as well, and like, his relationship and his partnership with Tony Kelly has been huge for Clare. Anytime Clare have been going well, particularly in 13 and in 18 as well. Obviously, he wasn't there last year, so having all these players on board, having them fit is huge. Conlon obviously has gone into his early 30s now. A cruciate injury coming back at that age. It's obviously a bit more difficult once you get over that age. In your mid-20s, as we've seen with Bernard Brogan and several others, you can come back much better than you were before. It's going to be difficult for him. It's just, just find it hard to see, like, outside of Kelly, where's the X factor going to come from? Like, where are all these other options? Shane O'Donnell was good at times last year, but probably didn't offer them enough of a scoring threat when they really needed, particularly in the quarter final against Waterford, when Kelly was a good bit quieter, albeit there's nothing he could do about being quiet. He was just tied down with that ankle injury. So, like, a similar year for Clare, I think would still be okay. Do I see them progressing or getting to a semi final? I don't really. I just don't know. I just don't think they have that strength and depth. Particularly, obviously, Conlon and Galvin are probably going to be back. Shane O'Morey is going to be gone. There's a good defender. They're not blessed with, a load of defenders as well. Although there was a couple of players probably stood up last year. Rory Hayes was one in particular, a cornerback, and Cottle Malone was brilliant, be it at midfield or be it at half forward. He was absolutely outstanding. But as I said, never before has a team probably at intercounty level centred so much around one player and what he does. There's an interesting question. Has any county ever relied on, their star man more than Clare have relied on Tony Kelly?
Well, I keep thinking of Joe Canning against Cork in 2008, that Tony Kelly kept doing that last season, that there's a little bit of that going on there.
That's a fair point. And again, with Canning, that was a Galway side that weren't going particularly well.
Maybe old Kelly with tips during the mid-2000s.
Yeah, fair point, Jen. It's just, if I think teams would be very, like, if Wexford played Clare this year, you'd imagine that they'd put a mobile man marker on Kelly and try and tie him down. I don't think Limerick are a bit of an outlier in that regard, because it doesn't seem like they need to maybe send a man marker on him. But I think other teams would just go with some, a miserable man marker who's literally doesn't care if he doesn't touch the ball. And if that keeps Kelly to a point or two from play, the opposition have a serious chance of winning. Do I see Clare making massive strides in 2021? I don't really. I think if they're able to keep a level trajectory based on last year, I think it's not progress, but given how things are going there, I still think it will be a decent year.
Yeah, and just to finish up, like, I want to be somewhat positive about Clare, and you mentioned Rory Hayes. That's a good point. Like, Shane and Morey stepping away, that's probably something a little bit regrettable. Stephen O'Halloran had some decent games. I think Aidan McCarthy's developing into a good player in the half-back line. Jason McCarthy had some good performances at times last year. Ryan Taylor looks like somebody in the full forward line. Then, of course, there's the problem, do they have too many diminutive inside forwards? And, if you were going to play Ryan Taylor up in the forward line, you obviously can't really play Shane O'Donnell up there as well, unless you have Aaron Shanaher, but you don't necessarily want to play the three of them up front because you need extra bodies further down the field. So I think Brian Lohan has a big job on there, juggling all those different pieces. The point about Tony Kelly, I've obviously mentioned this before, but in the Club All-Ireland in 2017 with Coola, we had two lads on him who were just there to sicken on him, and they were taking turns on marking him and trying to cover ground on him. Now, Ballier were obviously chasing the game all the time, so it's tougher in the sense that you're not going to be getting the ball on the front foot throughout the game. But neither will Clare be. So if certain managers kind of looked at ways of just locking him down and just thinking, can the rest of this Clare team beat us? I don't really think they can. So I think I tend to agree with you there. And we'll obviously look at the other fixtures in more depth later in the week, but that's our sort of overview for Clare. And as I said, brought to you by orgaretro.com. Go there now. If you want to get the Clare jersey, which obviously isn't this jersey now, because I gave that Clare jersey that I had to someone as a Christmas present. So go to orgaretro.com, put in the promo code OurGame, and you'll get 15% off.